All right, sir. Well, let me ask you this then, because this is an excellent bridge into your article, Melt the Witch. I did a video a while back, a microdot called The Curious Case for $936 an ounce silver, which I think really, people thought, oh, what an unimaginable number. And, here you are saying that it's conceivable that silver's worth $3,900 or $6,000 or $81,000 if you know the facts. And unless you know these facts about what makes silver so special, you're going to think that's poppycock. You're going to think it's ridiculous. But the facts are, silver, Bix, I'll let you run with it, but essentially you're saying sell all your gold investments now and buy physical silver.
Yes, definitely. There's never been a more no-brainer type of investment opportunity in the history of investing. What we've got here is a commodity and a form of money that has been rigged for so long. And I'm not talking just the last 10 years, like most people think that the banks and the Federal Reserve have been rigging the market, or the last 30 years that the rigging of the silver market by the silver users and things like that. I'm talking about 150 years, back when the UK, the world was on a silver standard, and the UK didn't have enough silver, so they basically made it a plan to demonetize silver. And then in the 50s, when industrialization kicked in with silver and electronics really started kicking in, silver being the best conductor of electricity, all that 50 billion ounces that we had above the ground has been used up. And to look at it, it's very difficult to stand back and say, okay, yeah, the price of silver has gone up from $5 to $30. But what you need to ask yourself is, what, if I didn't know anything, what should the price of silver be in relation to U.S. dollars, in relation to other forms of the U.S. dollar, like derivatives in the hundreds of trillions of dollars, in relation to even gold. Now, gold is obviously one of the biggest secrets of the world, because historically gold has been the king of the monetary metals, and silver has been the people's type of money. Well, there are a lot of secrets in gold, because one, the banks hold a lot of it, and so you never know, or they claim to hold a lot of it. You never know what they actually hold in physical real gold. There's a lot of talk about gold-plated tungsten bars. Mm-hmm. I believe that is 100% true, and it makes sense in the road to Ruta theory that people are going to be pissed off at the U.S. anyway when we crash the dollar. Who cares if we gave them fake gold? Within the United States, too, there are just gigantic hidden gold mines. And I talk about this in one of my articles called Golden Secrets. There are every time we find a large deposit of gold, we hide it. The United States foreign policy on natural reserves has been hide everything you got, everything you have on your own land, use everybody else's first, as long as they're accepting these pieces of paper, because when it all falls apart, they're not going to trade with you. Then you can use your own oil. Then you can use your own gold. Then you can use your own silver. Oil is the largest commodity that is bought and sold. The most amount is bought and sold, so that's what people spend the most money on. Higher the price of oil, the more U.S. dollars are needed to purchase that oil.
Right.
So it allows us to print more and more fiat money, such that that's why we require everybody to buy oil in U.S. dollars. That's breaking down now.
Right.
And what you're going to see is there's oil all over the place in the United States, and oil is not even a fossil fuel as that you've been taught.
Yeah, it appears to be abiotic in process. It doesn't. Yeah, how many dead dinosaurs are there? Come on.
It's you think about it, and it's completely ridiculous. But back to the silver thing. What I want to we don't have much time left, but what I want to say to people about silver is the worst thing I can imagine for a silver investor these days is to do the analysis, get there on silver and say, my God, this is a great opportunity, and then not be able to pick the right investment vehicle to be there and benefit when the silver rocket takes off. And what I mean by the right investment vehicle, in the road to Ruta theory, it is a complete wash. It is a collapse of everything in order to restart. So whether or not there'll be nationalization of mines, especially if you own foreign mining stocks, the desire for the kind of extra benefit of owning a mining stock because it's leveraged to the price of silver is not worth the risk. when there's a global collapse, every single country is going to close off all their mining for any country, any outside type of trade. Trade is just going to stop altogether. So to think that you can cash in by owning a foreign mining stock is, I don't see any chance of that happening. And on that level, stocks in general are a complete fraud. They're basically floating around the DDTC, which is supposed to keep control of who owns what. They're leveraged 100 to 1.
Right.
So if you own a piece of paper that gives you access, gives you ownership in a company like a mining company, you don't know how many other people own that same piece of paper, and you don't know how big the float is because it's all floating around the DDTC and their computers. So what I want to tell everybody is to be safe, and if things happen the way I believe they will happen, to be safe, only invest in physical gold and silver, mainly silver, and I the Melt the Witch article on my website tells you why, but only physical gold and silver in your own possession, not at a bank, not in an ETF, not anywhere else, to be safe.
Hey, before I let you go, I want to just jump into your price analysis on what silver's worth. But I want to call out point number 14 in your article, Melt the Witch, in which you write, very few investors have physical silver in their possession. Reasoning? Because they claim it's too hard to store. Does that mean when silver trades at over $1,000 an ounce, people will be willing to buy more? And I think what's great about that, Bix, is I felt the same way. I read some analysis, and I did a video, I mentioned this in a video where somebody was saying, well, you take some refrigerators, store all your silver. Well, if you jumped in the Wayback Machine and you go back to the 30s, and you could buy gold for $30 an ounce, who wouldn't do it? I would take that problem any day. So I think your point's well taken. I mean, the more silver you can get at these suppressed prices, the better.
There is going to be a mad rush for silver by everybody, and gold, but mainly silver. And I'm not just talking about us silver bugs who like talking about this stuff. I mean by everybody. The other thing, I'm writing an article on it right now, is you can't even trust your physical silver anymore. Never go with bars that you look strange or you don't know the mint that made it, because as silver increases in price, yeah, it's fine when it's you can buy a 100-ounce bar for $3,000, but when you're buying a 100-ounce bar for $30,000 or $300,000, people are going to start to say, okay, is this real? How do I know doesn't have molybdenum in it, which is what I think is at the SLV, even if they have bars. I don't trust anybody who holds my silver for me, that they will survive the crash.
No, you're right. And I just want to take people through these numbers because they're lucid and you've articulated them in the exact same way I would, which I just think it's a lot of fun to read these numbers. Do you want me to do it, or do you want to take us through these estimates?
You can go ahead. I love hearing it.
Okay, well, you wrote that based on my mainstream estimates of total above and below ground silver, 17 billion ounces on the planet, and gold, 8 billion ounces on the planet, the silver to gold ratio should be 2.1 to 1, with gold trading at $1,300 an ounce, $1,350 today or whatever. Silver should be trading at $619 an ounce, so it's 29 times undervalued. You then go on to say, based on estimates of total above ground silver, which is about 5 billion ounces, and gold, 5 billion ounces, silver-gold ratio should be 1 to 1, which gets us to about $1,350 an ounce on silver. And you go on to say, based on estimates of total monetary bullion above ground silver, that means money that funds can invest in and central banks and whatnot. That's about 1 billion ounces of silver. And gold, 3 billion ounces. That silver-gold ratio should be 1 to 3, with gold trading at $1,300. That gives us $3,900 an ounce silver, 186 times undervalued. And I even did the math on your other article, Bix, in which you wrote 6,000 silver in one bank, and that's great too, because if the price of, you make this argument that silver is essentially 5 times more rare now than gold, and at $1,360 gold, that gets us to $6,800 an ounce silver.
The radical thing is, it's even much more than that. With all the silver that supposedly went into the SLV ETF, you're talking those people who invested in SLV really believe that they purchased that silver.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's been an escape valve for real demand.
Oh yeah, and once it is known that I hear the Chinese are starting to pull silver out as an authorized participant, and they're going to drain the SLV. Once that is known, people are going to try to get out of SLV and buy the real stuff, and they're going to find that they're not going to be able to get their hands on the kind of quantity they want.
Right.
So the scarcity of silver, and the Perth Mint is a great example. The Perth Mint just announced that they've stopped making silver coins because they don't have any silver left. Well, the Perth Mint sells unbacked pooled accounts that are supposedly backed by their inventory. Well, they're telling people that, oh, we don't have any inventory of silver. What's going on with those unallocated pooled accounts?
Mm-hmm.
That silver that they said was their inventory, which backed that, is now gone. So there's people sitting out there with Perth Mint certificates, unallocated, that they have nothing.
Yeah, and we've seen some of these cases coming out of Scotiabank up in Canada where people are having a hard time getting what they thought was their metal in storage actually delivered to them.
It is amazing. And the other thing I want to warn people about is don't rely on the COMEX warehouse numbers, because those warehouses are owned by the bad guys.
Right.
They're owned by the banking cabal. And the inventories of SLV are ridiculous as well. They had 20 million ounces go in on December 30th, a couple years back, and then 20 million ounces come out on January 1st so they could cook the books at the end of the year. It's all ridiculous.
And it's ridiculous. If you're paying attention, you know it took Eric Sprott 3.5 months to get his 25 million ounces of silver, physical silver, delivered for his new PSLV fund, which is physically backed silver fund. So, no, you're right. It's impossible for 20 million just to come in and out and in and out and in and out. I mean,
and for SLV to claim that, we can get this in a day, but Sprott takes 3 or 4 months. It's ridiculous.
It is. Well, Bix, we really, really appreciate your time. You're just, you're a joy to speak with, and your material is incredible. You've got so many free resources at roadtoruta.com that it can keep people busy for days. It's kept me busy for days. I would actually like to cite that people check out in the resources tab the excellent 9/11 papers that you have. You have 2 papers that will curl people's toes should they want to take the time to read those, and that's in the resources link on the left.
I would like to point out that those are just links to papers. I didn't write them. I believe it was the ONI that wrote it, the Office of Naval Intelligence.
Agreed. I should have mentioned that. I did know that you didn't write those, but I appreciate the information because, again, in this war for truth, however we can share that information and get people to just recognize what we're up against and essentially take accountability for truth and justice and honor, the better off America will be in the future. So, Bix, how do people hook up with you if they want to get to your members-only material?
Well, there's on the site, there's a subscription section on the left side, and the members-only stuff gets deeper in depth. It has weekly updates on where we are. It has what we call a Friday road trip that has analysis of how the week went and where we're going in the future, and also special reports. But I also want to say that there's a lot of free information on the top section, and there's a little archive button at the bottom, because the key to all this, and the reason we do this Road to Ruta stuff, is to get the word out to everybody, even those who don't want to buy. The subscription's $149 a year, and it gives you access to everything. But there's a ton of information in the free top part, and you can sign up for free updates on the top left portion. And the more information gets out there from everybody, tell your friends about silver and gold and what's going on, because we're going to need knowledge if we're going to survive this coming turmoil.
Well, I want to thank you on behalf of everybody for all of the fantastic information you're putting out there, because at the end of the day, Bix, we're all in this mess together, and, a little Bic lighter of truth can light up an entire room of darkness. So thank you, Bix.
I agree 100%, and thanks for having me on, and let's do it again soon.
I look forward to it. All right. Take care, Bix.
All right, Sean.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And guys, this concludes the interview with Bix Weir. We're going to be speaking again in the future, so if you have any questions for Bix, send them my way. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. Good night.